A federal judge blocking enforcement of President Trump's ban on transgender people serving in the military, saying it likely violated their constitutional rights. The judge delaying her order until Friday to give the Trump administration time to appeal this decision. But our next guest is Nicolas Talbott, and Nicolas is one of 14 active duty transgender service members suing the Trump administration. Talbott, a 31-year-old second lieutenant, has served in the Army Reserve since March of last year. Second Lieutenant Nicolas Talbott is joining me now. So first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for being here. And I'm curious as to what your initial reaction is to the judge's ruling, and what does that mean for you practically right now in terms of service?
Yeah, so this ruling has been an absolute breath of fresh air for me. It has been like a huge weight is suddenly lifted off my shoulders. Now I can get back to focusing solely on the mission at hand, the tasks at hand, and continuing to serve my country and put on my uniform and do what I love to do.
And you're joining us from Ohio there, Lieutenant. This ruling, it hasn't gone into effect yet. It sounds like this judge, though, is preparing for the Trump administration to appeal. Are you worried about that appeal? And perhaps how are you preparing for that generally?
Sure. So we are absolutely anticipating some type of appeals or some type of continued discussion or debate about this topic. But at the end of the day, I am very confident that the court system will continue to find that transgender people have no negative bearing on the United States military. At the end of the day, what matters is our ability to put on the uniform and meet or exceed the same standards as everybody else. And that is what yesterday's finding affirmed, is that we are able to do that and that we should be allowed to continue to do so. And I'm very confident that that is what the findings will continue to be by whatever court system may be dealing with this case.
Well, and I'm glad you said that here, because I want to get your reaction to something that was said by Pete Hegseth prior to being defense secretary. Hegseth spoke on the Sean Ryan podcast over concerns about the ability to deploy transgender service members. One of the reasons he gave was because of the need of medication specifically. What is your response to that?
Sure. Obviously, the medications are an issue that trans people and other soldiers deal with every single day. Transgender soldiers are not the only soldiers who require medications. And this is realistically a non-issue for military members. We figure out how to get soldiers the medications they need every single day. Transgender soldiers are just as deployable as any other soldiers. These things that were discussed, findings of the case. And I think that it really is a non-issue whatsoever. Trans people are just as deployable, just as combat ready, and just as capable as any other military member.
I know that you have faced some adversity throughout your military career, yet you have continued to serve. Tell me a little bit about that experience generally, and are you worried in this moment about potential backlash because of this lawsuit?
Yeah, so service is something I've always wanted to do. I spent the greater portion of my adult life just fighting to enlist in the military, and I finally was able to do that last year and earn my commission as a second lieutenant in the Army Reserve. And all I can really think about is how excited I am to finally start my military career, to be able to continue to put on the uniform and serve and be a better officer every single day that I show up. So at this point, I'm more excited than anything else to be able to continue to serve my country.
And tell me a little bit about the reaction from some of your fellow servicemen and women, not only to this lawsuit, but to the journey that you've been on.
I have experienced a tremendous support from my fellow service members all across the military. I had friends who were in the military before I was able to enlist. I have made so many new friends and allies in the trainings that I've been through and in my unit. And everybody that I've spoken to is just thrilled that they get to keep me.
Lieutenant Talbott, we appreciate you taking the time. And again, we thank you for your service to our country. Thanks for being here. And coming up next here on ABC News Live, of course.